Maureen, thank you very much for having African Pilot here at yet another AFRAA event. A fascinating learning experience for me. I've learned so much over the last 2 days or 1.5 days. But I think take our audience through what they've missed.
This Aviation Stakeholders Convention for this year has been fantastic. We had pre-event sessions, so we had some committee meetings at AFRAA on distribution, on route network and cargo, so on technical operations. Then after those committee meetings, because each committee has its own mandate, its own action plan for our member airlines aligned on collaboration, then we had a consultative session with Jetcraft Commercial. And Jetcraft Commercial, we were talking about fleet acquisition, and then fleet selection and fleet financing. We learned quite a lot because from an expert point of view, a fleet strategy is not just about buying aircraft. There's so much that goes behind there, from the planning, from the market study, from factors to consider, operational, economical factors, and then for the financing of the aircraft, how do you finance that? If you're leasing, what are the pros and cons? Yes. If you're presenting your proposal to the lessor, what do they look for? And how should you present your proposal? And then if you're buying, where are you getting the money? What are the financing sources to consider? And then if you are buying, are you buying a new or a pre-owned aircraft? What are the pros and cons? So we learned quite a lot. And we had this session being for our African airlines, not just our AFRAA members, leaders, quite a good participation and engagement with them. Yes. And then following that consultative session, now we had our event today. The plenary officially opened by the Minister of Transport, Ms. Barbara Creasy, and quite a strong message. What we really admire about South Africa is the government is taking aviation as a priority. It's quite impressive. Then from the opening, the calls to action were aligned on collaboration. Collaboration is no longer a nice to have, nice to do. It's now an imperative for African airlines to thrive. Yes. And for this stakeholders convention, it's been a good turnout, over 500 delegates, about 50 countries across the world. And this gathering, the main objective is building African aviation not just to survive, but to thrive. So from the discussions, different topics on profitability, how do we move from just cost cutting to becoming profitable African airlines? And here we had airlines that are doing well, giving use case, because we need to learn from each other. It's not just saying because they're private airlines, they're doing well. We have private airlines doing well. We also have state-owned airlines that are doing well. We can learn from each other. So from that panel, they shared what they're doing, and we can take that as a script to see what can work for us, because it's learning from one another. We also had a session on creating competitive hubs for Africa. Yes. By Growth Helm Partners. We heard very earlier on in the opening about intra-African connectivity is still very limited. We are moving at a very slow pace. The issue of SATAM has been since 2018, and before SATAM we had the YD. Yes. And
it feels like we're not making progress, although I think we are, but it does feel slow.
It's quite slow, slower than we need to get it. And in fact, even to look at the figures, 22% of intra-Africa traffic actually travels using hubs outside of the African continent. Yeah. And only 28% of intra-Africa routes have direct flights. So you cannot have the passenger, especially the business passenger, using a frequency that less than 4 frequencies per week. And the business person actually wants more frequencies per day. So if you can't have more frequencies per day between those points, then the option is to use non-African hubs. Yes. Which is now, for our airlines, that's to their detriment. It's
counterintuitive as to what's happening.
Airlines that spoke on stage were saying, where we have traffic rights, let us proceed to serve those markets, of course, based on a good market study, demand analysis, and serve those markets where you have the rights. And then we continue to negotiate bilaterally. Subject of SATAM needs to be driven forward because we need to connect Africa. The issue of the Iran crisis, I moderated 2 CEOs. One of the questions I asked them is, how has this crisis impacted your operations? Because you're looking at this intra-Africa connectivity being increased from the fact that closure of those hubs that were being used in the Middle East now is forcing the traffic to use the African hubs. So one of these airlines from the Eastern African region, they actually saw a leap in the demand, because that's a market that is a connection kind of traffic hub. And then the other airline was a destination market. So for them, really the increase in the demand was not as high, but the increase in the jet fuel price, the Southern African market, 1.5 times. The airline in the Eastern African market, their increase was just double. The way the airlines have been impacted, how they are positioning themselves, of course they can't transfer all these costs to the passengers.
No.
They've transferred a portion of it, and they are looking at cargo, ancillary revenues, because we need to beat the crisis. And then beyond that, they're looking at their routes. How can they rationalize their routes? Where they have thin routes, maybe they could do some amalgamation. The difficult decision being closing some of these routes. So the crisis is really biting hard. We also discussed the issue of training. The growth numbers are really good. This year, Africa is forecasted to grow at 6% passenger traffic. That's good.
That's very good.
It's the highest region, actually.
But it would be great to see that at 12 and 24%.
Precisely. In fact, the discussions we had with the CEOs on Sunday, one of the CEOs was saying about that we should not accept these growth figures. Why isn't Africa doing double-digit growth?
It's a good question. Why aren't we?
We know the underlying issues, the drivers. Then let's work on those drivers so that we can develop the African aviation.
Is that going to form now part of the task team to really kind of identify why we can't get those numbers up?
The task team will not really be looking at identifying why. Already we know why. One of the issues is the high taxes and charges. Governments should not be just a tax collector from airlines, to look at airlines as a revenue source. They should be looking at the aviation industry as a trade partner. Yes, aviation drives as a driver of economic development. They should not be overtaxing and overcharging African airlines. So that's one issue we need to look at. The other one is fragmentation. The industry is really battling fragmentation. So we need to address that. Then there is the issue of market access. I talked about it. Limited market access. So if you open the market really for African airlines, that's one of the key factors that will result to having more traffic, connectivity in the African region. We need to address that as well.
So it's a bit like code sharing with each other, hey?
Beyond code sharing. Beyond.
So was it George who said something about that Pan-African airline? But I didn't really understand it as a Pan-African airline. I understand it more as if you're going here, instead of getting on the airplane and going somewhere else and then flying back into the continent, why can't we do these internal, maybe draw the picture for me, like.
So what George was alluding to in the session I had with him was, even beyond that Pan-African airline, was the concept of alliances. We've seen alliances working in other continents, across actually global alliances. We have SkyTeam, we have One World, Star Alliance. So the concept is, and that discussion has been there years back, why don't we have our own alliance for African airlines in this continent? Because the benefits of the alliances, some of which will be, you can have your collaboration on the code shares, you can have the loyalty programs, you can have the other initiatives, for example, on the joint purchase program, procurement. And then you don't really need to struggle on the feeding and defeeding of traffic. So you'll end up having aircraft fuller because you're part of that alliance. So the benefits are major. The rhetorical question is, then who does what? Who does it? And that's an imperative for us. We take it as an action point for AFRAA. All depends on the airlines' participation, because we can only do so much. If the airlines are not in it, then we cannot win it. And some of the other discussions, to go back to your earlier question on what was covered, we had master classes.
Yes, I did a master class today. It was fantastic.
So Jetcraft, what they did for us on Sunday, this was just quite similar to that, because that one was curated for the executives. It's really important to have the right aircraft and to know about how to do the analysis and what you can afford and what financing method you'll use, whether you lease it or whether you will you'll own it. And are you buying a new aircraft or a pre-owned one? So there's a lot of factors. And what we got from the Jetcraft team, Rafael Haddad, he mentioned that if you don't have sufficient capacity within your airline to help you to walk that process, then you can work with a consultant, you can work with some of these organizations who are very versed in making this kind of decisions, and they can take you through. You save yourself a lot of, you'll avoid a lot of inconveniences, because when you buy an aircraft, you're stuck with it for like over 2 decades. That's an important decision to make using the right basis of purchasing that aircraft.
So talk to me about cargo, because I feel that we really need to start making better decisions around cargo.
Yes, we had a presentation by African Aviation CEO Sanjeev, and how air cargo can be an economic catalyst. The issue of e-commerce increasing, that's an opportunity for cargo. One of the things he mentioned, that especially for cold storage facilities at airports, one of the biggest challenges in Africa is that infrastructure is very limited. So we need to have infrastructural development, so governments need to invest in that.
What are the actionable items coming out from these 2 days?
The issue of collaboration, not just being good to have an imperative. The point that was raised by Captain George Kamal, who is CEO of Kenya Airways and also the current year AFRAA chairman of the executive committee, was, can we now go back and drive that concept, which AFRAA will do, and all depending on the airlines' participation. I mentioned earlier, if the airlines are in it, we shall win it.
Absolutely.
So it's a two-way street. So we shall do our part on the collaboration and also continue to drive collaborative initiatives, such as on the joint projects we have in place. From also the MRO conference we did, some of the joint projects are on spare parts pooling, line maintenance. So those are things that will continue to drive on the subject of collaboration. And then an action point for the part of airlines is on some of the quick wins they can make on cost reduction and profitability by using some of the ideas that were shared. For example, on centralizing the invoicing to reduce the cost of disparities in the invoicing process. And we had a use case from one of our airlines, how much was saved. 1% of the total costs of the amounts invoiced in terms of the disparities was saved. Then also on modern retailing, airlines to embrace modern retailing. I know NDC in the African region is one of the issues is the airlines are saying it's costly. How can I have my ROI? The call to action is it will eventually get here. Can we start working towards getting there? To be NDC, to embrace it, modern retailing, it's a way to go.
And where do we see you next?
Next, we have AFRAA Assembly in Libreville, Gabon, 15 to 17 November. Then our next event will be the MRO conference in Cairo, 2027. We'll announce the date, specific date. And then this stakeholders convention is traditionally in the month of May. And then the next year, AGM, Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. We have the safety summit. We have started today with the closed session, and this year's theme is culture to competence. So how do we move from safety culture to safety competence? So there's a round of discussion on how we can bring that about. This is the third edition we are doing of the Safety Summit, collaboration with Flight Safety Foundation, and we are seeing the traction. So right now, as you speak, the closed group is having their session, because we had the AFRAA safety group that was created, part of the outcomes of the Safety Summit previous editions. So that safety group is driving safety actions amongst ourselves as airlines. So what is going on in the closed session, they are analyzing an accident, really dissecting it, what happened, what went wrong. And that accident was the issue of crew fatigue. And then now, how can we also learn from each other? Because that's a forum, the airlines will share their experiences, and then we learn from each other. That's the objective.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow we go into the panels, presentations for the safety summit. Quite packed,
Yes.
but 3 days conferencing, been really good output for our delegates. And then on Thursday,
Yes, what's happening on Thursday?
we are not finished.
Oh my goodness.
On Thursday, we have a youth event.
Okay.
Every time we do our conference, we do 1 day an outreach activity.
Okay.
So this time we are doing 200 students,
Yes.
high school students to be specific.
Yeah.
We have this sponsored by ATNS
Yeah.
in collaboration with South African Airways. So we shall take these students to the SAA Museum, showcase to them, the SAA Museum, you see the aircraft there. We'll also bring some simulator from ATNS.
Okay.
And then we'll do some sessions with some of the career people for them to really engage and have the motivation they need. We want to also interest them in careers in aviation very young.
Yes.
So we'll have some pilots, we'll have some engineers, some air traffic controllers, and then to really unpack for them what aviation is about. So we are planting the seeds early.
Yes.
And we hope that some of the students who will be there will be future aviators.
Fantastic.
Yes.
That's great. And so I will see you soon, Maureen. Thank you very much for having us. I look forward to the coverage that comes out of this event, and we shall see you soon at the next one.
See you soon. Thanks for coming, and looking out for the next event.
All